Imagine the following scenario. You've spent the whole day planning something special, taking care of every detail so that everything would be perfect. You anticipated problems, solved issues that weren't even yours, swallowed your exhaustion, and put his needs above your own, just as you have for months, maybe years. You feel that you have finally proven your worth. Finally, he will see how dedicated you are. But when the moment arrives, the mood shifts in a split second. A cold look, a monosyllabic answer, or worse, an accusation. You only did that to show off. Or maybe, if you really cared about me, you would have done it differently. Suddenly, all your effort evaporates. You are thrown into a courtroom where the judge, the jury, and the executioner are the same person, and the sentence was passed before you even entered the room. You are accused of disloyalty, of selfishness, of not being there for him. This mental confusion, this feeling of running on a treadmill that goes nowhere, is not an accident. It is intentional. There is one question that haunts the mind of every woman involved with a narcissistic profile. What else do I need to do to prove I am on his side? The short, brutal answer that we will dissect today is nothing, because what he calls loyalty is not what you find in the dictionary. For you, loyalty is partnership. It is faithfulness. It is being together through thick and thin. For the narcissist, loyalty is something much darker. It is the total and complete annulment of your existence in favor of his. And to ensure you fulfill this role, he needs to test you, constantly, obsessively. And when you fail, and you will fail, because the game is rigged, the punishment is severe. Today, we are going to decode exactly how these tests work, why they seem to come out of nowhere, and most importantly, why failing these tests may actually be the first sign of your freedom. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. If this video resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. I count on your support. Let's anchor this in your daily reality. You live with the perpetual feeling of taking an exam for which you never studied the right material. It is as if, every day when you wake up, you receive a blank test and have to guess the answers. Narcissistic loyalty tests are rarely about grand acts of betrayal, like infidelity. They operate on micro behaviors. They happen on a Tuesday night, when you decide to visit your sick mother instead of staying home watching TV with him. They happen when you get a promotion at work and come home radiant, expecting to celebrate, only to find a partner with a sour face, complaining of a sudden headache, or criticizing the house's disorganization. Notice the dynamic. The moment your attention deviates from him, whether it's toward your family, your professional success, or even a hobby you love, the threat to loyalty alarm goes off in his mind. Do you notice that the rules constantly change? This is what we call shifting goalposts. One day he complains you are too dependent and need to have your own life. You, trying to please and be the ideal partner, go out with your friends. When you return, he accuses you of abandoning him, of preferring the company of others, of leaving him alone when he needed you the most. You try to argue using logic, but you said you wanted me to go out. But logic has no place here, because the test wasn't about going out or staying in. The test was, are you capable of reading my mind and knowing that today, specifically today, the rule changed? The visceral experience of this is exhaustion. You start policing your own thoughts. Before you speak, you mentally rehearse 3, 4 times, trying to predict how that sentence will be interpreted. If I say I'm tired, will he think I'm lazy about taking care of him? If I say I'm happy, will he think I don't care about his problems? You live in a state of hypervigilance. Your body is always tense, waiting for the next blow, the next disapproval. And the cruelest part is that when the punishment comes, the silence, the biting criticism, the contempt, you don't think he is unfair. The programming is so deep that you think, where did I go wrong? What did I miss? You take the blame for his instability. That is the scenario. You are stuck in a cycle of impossible validation. But to get out of it, we need to understand what is happening under the hood. Why does your autonomy offend him so much? Why is your happiness seen as a betrayal? Here we enter the first deep layer of the narcissistic psyche, the concept of separation. In healthy psychological development, we understand that we are separate individuals. I am me, you are you. I can love you and disagree with you. I can be loyal to you and still have my own desires. But the pathological narcissist did not complete this stage of individuation in a healthy way. For him, the people around him, especially intimate partners, or what we call primary supply sources, are not external individuals. They are extensions of himself. Think of your arm. You don't need to ask your arm to pick up a glass of water. You think, and it obeys. If your arm suddenly decided not to pick up the glass because it is tired or because it wants to do something else, you would be shocked, perhaps furious. What do you mean? You are a part of me. You serve my purposes. That is exactly how the narcissist sees you, as a phantom limb of his own body or psyche. Therefore, when he tests your loyalty, he is not testing your marital fidelity. He is testing your submission to the fusion. Every time you express a different opinion, a distinct musical preference, or a physiological need that conflicts with his, like wanting to sleep when he wants to talk, it is registered in his brain as a malfunction of the object. For him, this is disloyalty. The test, then, is, how much of yourself are you willing to kill so that I can feel whole? If you maintain your personality, your friends, your tastes, you are a threat. That is why the tests often involve putting you in situations where you must choose between something that is important to your identity and his approval. He will create subtle situations where you have to cancel commitments you love, wear clothes you don't like, or agree with political opinions you despise, just to keep the peace. With every small concession you make, you think you are buying peace and proving loyalty. But what you are really doing is feeding his pathology. You are confirming that yes, you agree to be an extension. And the more you give in, the more he demands, because his anxiety about losing control over this extension never goes away. This annulment of the self is the price of admission to the relationship, and the punishment always comes whenever you dare, even for a second, to be the protagonist of your own life. Now that we understand that he sees you as an extension, let's analyze the favorite tool for testing this connection, the manufactured crisis. Have you ever noticed that the biggest dramas, the mysterious illnesses, the emotional collapses, or the explosions of rage from the narcissist happen, timed perfectly, at moments when you are focused on something else? This is not a coincidence. This is a test of priority. The narcissist has a pathological fear of being irrelevant. Indifference or diverted attention are to him mortal wounds. When he realizes that you are happy with something that does not involve him, your job, your children, your family, he feels a loss of control. The supply is leaking elsewhere. To stop this leak and test if he is still the center of your universe, he creates a crisis. Let's dissect a classic example. It is your sister's wedding day. You are the maid of honor. You are happy, busy, surrounded by family. The focus is not on him. What happens? Minutes before leaving or during the party, he creates a conflict. It could be an invented jealousy crisis. I saw how that guy looked at you. A sudden physical discomfort. I'm feeling a sharp pain in my chest. I think it's anxiety because you don't pay attention to me. Or a devastating criticism of your appearance. Are you really going out dressed like that? The objective here is to test your loyalty through sacrifice. The implicit question is, are you going to ruin your sister's joy to take care of me? Are you going to stop having fun to manage my mood? If you ignore his drama and keep having fun, you failed the test. You will be punished later. We will talk about that in the next chapter. If you stop everything, become distressed, and spend the entire party by his side consoling him or apologizing, you pass the test. But the cost was the sabotage of your happy memory. He needs to know that he is more important than your family, your career, your health, and your dignity. The manufactured crisis is the tool to force you to declare this priority repeatedly. It is a perverse way of reassuring his power. Look at what I can do. I can snap my fingers and turn her happiest day into hell, and she will still take care of me. This creates a terrible conditioning in you. You start to be afraid of being happy. You start to associate your moments of joy or success with an imminent catastrophe. You learn that shining is dangerous, as it attracts sabotage under the guise of a loyalty test. You failed the test. Maybe you maintained your stance on visiting your family. Maybe you got the promotion and celebrated despite his sour face. What comes next is the punishment phase. And it is crucial that you understand this, not as an emotional reaction of someone hurt, but as a technique of behavioral conditioning. The narcissist operates based on operant conditioning, very similar to the concept of Pavlov or Skinner in behavioral psychology. The goal is to extinguish an undesirable behavior, your autonomy, and reinforce a desired behavior, your submission. The most common and devastating punishment is the silent treatment. Do not confuse this with someone who needs space to cool down. Narcissistic silence is active. It is an aggressive presence. He acts as if you do not exist. He looks right through you. He answers direct questions with a void. Why is this a punishment for disloyalty? Because it touches the most primitive human wound, the fear of abandonment and social exclusion. By denying your existence, he is saying, if you don't act the way I want, you don't exist to me. Your emotional survival depends on my validation, and I just took it away. This punishment is designed to generate extreme anxiety. You panic. What did I do? Is he going to break up with me? Did I lose him? This anxiety causes you, the victim, to start chasing the narcissist, begging for forgiveness, promising to do better, taking on blame that is not yours just so the silence ends. At that moment, the cycle closes. He won. He proved that he controls your emotional state. Another form of punishment is the withdrawal of affection or sudden triangulation. If you failed to give him the attention he wanted, he might suddenly start complimenting another woman, mentioning an ex-girlfriend, or being overly friendly with the waitress while treating you coldly. The message is clear. You are replaceable. If you are not loyal, submissive, there are others who will be. The narcissist trains you to associate your independence with pain. Autonomy, happy, silence, contempt, pain, submission, crumbs of affection, relief from tension. Over time, your brain, seeking to avoid pain, stops failing the tests. You anticipate. You stop seeing your friends before he even asks. You turn down the promotion before he can criticize. You become the jailer of your own life, all to avoid the punishment that follows supposed disloyalty. You spent years trying to ace a test whose answers change every minute. You bent, you broke, and you diminished yourself to fit the mold of loyalty that he imposed. And the brutal reality you need to face now, to free yourself, is that it will never be enough. There is no level of sacrifice that will satisfy the black hole of a narcissist's need for control. You can give him your soul, and he will complain about the packaging. Understanding that these tests are manipulated is the first step to stopping them. The loyalty he demands is the death of yourself, and your failure in these tests, the moment you chose yourself, the moment you displeased him to preserve your sanity, was not a mistake. It was a sign of health. It was the part of you that is still alive, fighting to breathe. The turning point happens when you stop seeing his punishment as a reflection of your worth and start seeing it as a tantrum from a tyrannical child who lost control of his toy. When he gives you the silent treatment because you were disloyal by having a life of your own, don't chase after him. Don't apologize. Let the silence echo. Use that silence to hear yourself again. The greatest loyalty you must have, from today on, is not to him, nor to the idealized image of this relationship. It is loyalty to yourself. If passing the test means ceasing to exist, then the only possible victory is to fail. Fail with pride. Because every time you fail his test of control, you pass the test of self-love. If you recognize yourself in this cycle of tests and punishments, know that the blame is not your incompetence in loving. It is his inability to receive love from anyone who is not a mirror. Reclaim your identity. The test is over. In the description of this video, you will find a link with support materials created with much care to help you understand and re-signify what you have lived or are living. Feel free to leave your testimony, your venting, or even a suggestion for a topic for the next video in the comments below. Click on the suggested video on the screen and continue with me in another video. Remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.